I always thought that I was willing to play the role of the bad guy in the way a father is willing to play the role of the bad guy. To be the denier, to be the disciplinarian. And that was so sort of liberating because it clarified some stuff for me that I had thought about earlier, and it made odd sense of everything. And I read this thing that in the process of hunting for a monster, you don't become one.
As an actor, you can't judge your character. You can't decide that you like or dislike them. You have to try and understand them and therefore empathize. Your job is to tell the story. And it's very difficult for me because I completely disagree with some of the choices that Sonia could make. And so to me, the challenge has been to dig deep enough to find that place. What would have to push me to a place where I would be willing to do that?
Is she bad? Perhaps, but perhaps she doesn't have a choice. Or she doesn't feel she has a choice to be good.
People forget that at one point, Nelson Mandela was a terrorist. Martin Luther King was on the FBI watch list. Malcolm X was a terrorist, right? So if you ask, are we evil, it's totally subjective, right? One person's terrorist is someone else's freedom fighter, right? So it's like, I don't think it's not as simple as are we evil. I think our motivations, for the most part, with the exception of maybe Kellogg, are altruistic.
And here's the great irony. Your character is the only one we've actually shown who has a personal, violent connection to the movement because you experienced the loss of your sister in a context of her trying to do something right.
You know what this is?
Yeah, of course. They're thermalite detonators. That's why I stole them. Kagami's supposed to meet us here.
Liberate? You told me you were done with that.
Whiskey Romeo Bravo, permission granted. Over.
Firing.
If you couldn't play the character you're playing, which character would you like to play on the show, and why?
I love the lead. I love Carrie Cameron. I love the life that she lives in, the constant pull between her past and her future, and that tug of war that she gets to play with. I would look at that character with salivating jealousy.
I love Kellogg's character because generally everyone in their mind what they should be.
Yes.
You know, they side with a certain person, but really we're all Kellogg.
Yes.
You know, we're all Kellogg. We're all, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. It's great.
Okay. It's great. So I'm gonna go rogue here and say I would like to play Jason, who is played by the great Ian Tracy. Part of it is because I'm kind of in awe of Ian Tracy. I think he's amazing and I've been a fan for a long time.
What is this? I have some very good skills for a guy in your line of work. If you're interested in time travel, right? I know you are.
Well, for me, I mean, Travis is, in a sense, the extremist. In a sense, his methods are, let's say, a little excessive. And I, in no way, shape, or form condone any kind of terrorism, this kind of nonsense that goes on. If I'm in that desperate situation where I have to prove this point and get it across,
Could I go there?
Could I go there?
See, I have an interest. I've always had an interest in this stuff, and not politics so much for the sake of like who to vote for, but I just find it's fascinating drama following politics, right? And then I started thinking about our show and like the roles we play, and I'm like, how does the romanticization of terrorism or activism, how does that influence people to do stuff like this? How far should people actually go to get what they want when you're faced with it in real life?
To have that arrogance of believing, well, I would never do that. I would never do that. I would never be that person. You haven't been pushed to that place. Right. And only when you've been pushed to that place is it possible for you to even begin to think about that argument. And the thing that concerns me sometimes about doing a show like Continuum is that we're not, you know, I feel like there's almost a responsibility, but you still want to tell an interesting and dynamic story, but there's a responsibility to show the fallout.